I wanted to compile some of the most helpful shoulder stability and shoulder strengthening exercises and put them all in one video, so you only have to go to one place to find them. It's not an exhaustive list, but there are some of the ones that I feel like have made some of the most difference in my lifting and the others that I've trained. And it's not going to be so much mobility work, more stability work. So there's going to be some weights involved, but for starters, I think one of the most helpful warm-ups for the shoulder as far as mobility goes, if you have a band, is grabbing one. I have this just wrapped around the table, but just any secure pole or something heavy, and rotate the wrist up, palm up, and basically letting the band pull your arm away from you. It feels like your scapula, your shoulder blades coming kind of off your spine. You're just going to rotate into that and let it pull. So you're not pulling against it, you're letting it pull you, and you're rotating and leaning away. And doing that for 1 minute, 2 minutes would be ideal. And then doing the same thing, but opening up the other direction. So we're hitting more of the pecs this time. But it's still very key for the wrist to be rotated up. It shouldn't be rotated this way. You're getting way more out of the stretch if you get that wrist turned up as far as you can. Same thing, 2 minutes each way. So we're going to start with some low-level exercises and then work our way up to some higher-level exercises. For starters, I'm going to have you lay face down, and we'll do arms out to the side. And we're just pulling like a reverse fly, pulling our shoulder blades together. So you want the pull to come from your upper back, from the shoulders, rather than thinking of pulling your wrist up. You're thinking of almost pulling your elbows up and just squeezing the shoulder blades together. So this should be high repetitions, 12 to 20, 15 to 20. And then we'll go palms down. So we're bringing the hands to the side, and same thing, we're pulling them up again. 15 to 20 reps, and then palms up. Pressing those palms up. Try to keep those thumbs almost rotated too far the other way so that you don't rotate in. Right there. And eventually you can even add weight to these. I would definitely start with no weight first, but you can also add some lighter weights to these exercises. So that's a little complex. It's good for just priming things up. And then from there, we'll start with a little more stability work, starting with body weight. So just a simple shoulder tap. It's very slow and controlled. It's requiring you to press through the ground and stabilize with that arm and that shoulder that's planted. And then from there, you can try doing some down dog transitions, really trying to press through the hands to get your butt up in the air. And then trying to get to where you can do a down dog shoulder tap. So from this position here, it's requiring a lot of shoulder stability to press through. So that would be more of a progression. I would start with shoulder taps and see if you can get to a down dog tap without significant pain. So for more strengthening work, I'm going to do these from the knees just so you can get a better view. Grabbing some very light weights, so maybe 2 pounds or even a can of beans, and doing some full cans. So we're going to rotate the thumbs out a little bit. We're going to come out at an angle. And I'm pulling, kind of rotating and setting my shoulders in their sockets before I come up and holding that position so that I'm not rolled forward. I want to open up that shoulder joint and also not overextend the back. The core shouldn't move at all, nothing in the trunk. We're just coming right up to the height. Your fist should come up to the height of your shoulder. And start throwing some pauses in there and really control it the whole time, because that's requiring a lot more endurance and stability. So do a couple second pause. Now let's start, same thing, very high rep, 15 to 20 repetitions. So after you've gotten that down, it's time to work on some more overhead stability. An overhead position is not one that we spend a lot of time in, but it's one that a lot of people have issues with. So in order to get better shoulder mobility, you just need to spend more time in an overhead position. So if you hold one static and lift one overhead without shrugging, you don't want to shrug the shoulder into the ear. And again, doing 15 to 20 reps on each side. So moving on from there, another very good exercise for stability. Ideally, you would use a kettlebell. A lot of people only have a dumbbell. It's just doing a static hold from this 90-degree angle. And I'm just holding that position, not arching the back, not shrugging into my ears, just holding that 90 degrees. If you have a kettlebell, I feel like you get a little more out of that exercise because it's requiring more stability because it's a bottom up hold. So same thing, just holding that position. So last one, I'm going to use the kettlebell, but you can use a dumbbell for this one also. We're going back to the overhead position from kneeling. Again, we don't want to overextend the back. We don't want to shrug into the ear. I'm just letting the weight from the kettlebell just push my shoulder into its socket. And from there, I'm gonna just keep my eyes on the kettlebell and go over. And I'm thinking about squeezing my shoulder blade into my spine. And we're just gonna hold this position. For about 30 seconds, I'm just gonna let that sit there and keep it directly over my shoulder joint, squeezing my shoulder blade into my spine. And then we'll come back up. And you can just do several transitions, doing that same move, keeping it over the shoulder joint the whole time, and not allowing it to get away from you. So that's going to be more of a high level exercise. You can start with some low weight and eventually increase to where you're doing more weight, which is going to require more stability.